So before we start, I wanted to point out to everyone our new movie poster. Damien, check it out now. Isn't that wonderful? It's our new movie produced by Roger Corman. It's called Run Young Man, featuring Robbie the Robot and Kevin Spacey, one of who is not a jester molester, not a joker maloka. I particularly like the young in there. Do you think that's to appeal to a Chinese audience? Are we really? Is this really international?
I think it's actually quite a clever portmanteau of the two letters, really, because if you look, you've got a break in the O, so it could be understood as both an O and a U. I think it's just clever graphic design.
Yeah, thanks for Max Corbell for sending that. How long, Max, did it take you to find a stock image of the YMCA? Or dare I ask, did you go out and photograph yours and cut out the background? Either way, thank you. It's lovely.
It's fucking superb, yeah. Oh wow. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've seen this for the first time right now, and I'm just kind of drinking it in a little bit.
Like, you can't. Obviously, there's no captions or anything. But if Robbie the Robot ever said danger, it's right now.
Oh, right, so I think you're seeing it in a different way to me. So, is Robbie the Robot in peril here, or is he a tool of Spacey?
Oh, no. Don't you remember? He's wrestling Spacey. He's going to auto-destruct in a moment's time, but he's wrestling Spacey to buy the young men of that city kamikaze. Enough time to evacuate before we drop nuclear ordnance on them.
I thought one of them was Tom Hanks right at the back there for a second, but...
Yeah, that's great. Well, welcome to the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show. Today we're discussing, or at least that's the plan. We're discussing Bill and Ted 3 and our ideas for what Bill and Ted 3 could be. If anyone doesn't know, that there is a planned Bill and Ted 3, and that is all.
Okay.
There's no release date. They haven't started shooting it.
I did not know this, as per usual. So I think it's about time I booted up.
So you when we discussed this, you didn't think for a minute like I should type Bill and Ted 3 into Google. You didn't even fucking do that.
I just typed in Ted's dead.
And I like just before we started this podcast, I said to Damien, "When's the last time you saw one?" And he said, "I saw Bogus Journey about a year ago." Jesus Christ! Like, I watched both of them just before we started, and I even rewound bits.
Oh yes, I'm sure you've cut a few choice clips for things you're going to be talking about and reflecting on, and I'm sure there's a nice, neat stack of papers right in front of you.
And everything I say, you nod and say, "I think that would be an ecumenical matter." I suppose it would. So what do we think then? Bill and Ted 3. Do you think it would happen? Do you think it will happen?
You said they've got something slated, but there's no. So I'll say that again. There's no pre-production kind of happening. Is that correct?
There is, but it's not it's not the kind of end of pre. It seems that they've got a script and it's great sort of level of pre. It's the level of pre-production where no one knows what the fuck is happening.
Right. Okay. So it's just like 50 words of treatment on some kind of exec's desk. It's like, we would like to do this
on a Carluccio's napkin. It's got a cigarette burn on the other side.
Carluccio. I could see like Keanu Reeves taking on a pet project like this, like fucking backing most of it, or worse, they kind of like they pimp it out on Kickstarter or something like that.
Now, what if it's Alex Winter and then the guy who played Death, William Sadler, and then Keanu Reeves didn't do it, so they get in Matt LeBlanc.
Oh shit! Sorry, hang on.
What are you doing?
No, I had a fucking pain in my chest.
Oh. Of course, when Damien says he's having his morning coffee, he means he's having his morning cup of cocaine.
No, but it's I have reduced the coffee down quite nicely. It is the better part of a jar.
Have you?
No more than.
So we're talking about this now. How many spoonfuls of coffee do you put in?
Oh well, I would say at least 6.
I mean, this is very rare. We're listening to a tangent in process. Do you think we can get close to the tangent, or do you think it'll scurry away?
Keep with talk like that, you'll scare it off, I think.
Well, I had a little sip of Monster the other day by accident, and that stuff should be fucking illegal or mandatory. I don't know which. It is something else.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that they're they kind of slipped by, well, the FTA, I suppose, and the British equivalent, because that shit is fucking lethal.
The FTA and the British equivalent, Brian. He's just testing stuff. I imagine he's on a beach for some reason. He's on a beach in Wellington boots. He's got a wooden fold-up table so he can pack it away at the end of the day, and he's just testing new foods. And all it is like, it's a bit too spicy for me.
He's moved to what was the name of the town in Georgia? In the stuff.
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Don't you have that in your stack of papers?
No. Well, what, is it a remarkable name? Is it Beavertown or something?
No. I was just going to say that the same dude is also who's testing Monster has been corrupted by the same stuff.
He's like, you go and meet him, and like you have a nice meeting with him, and then you go into his downstairs bathroom, and you hear this clanking as you flush the toilet, and you look in the cistern, and it's just full of cans of Monster.
There's this loose tile above the toilet. He's been hanging out in the cubicles way too long. His colleagues don't know what's going on.
I can't believe that I tried to steer us away from talking about caffeine, and now I'm just like knee deep in this tangent.
Yes.
Because now what I want to say is that you can't fucking trust people who drink Monster. I don't mean you can't trust them like they're dodgy. It's just they're obviously people who don't have their lives together.
Yeah, I mean, I used to drink shit tons of it.
Yeah. And now I just cry in the bathroom before work.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's something that I think it's just one of my many prejudices, but I think there's something that's incredibly lower class about drinking stuff like that.
You don't think you have to say it like that. I think if there are middle class people who need their caffeine fix, whatever, they get like a $7 latte. I think you're fine saying that. It's a bit like saying, have you noticed that people who wear Lynx or Axe, have you noticed that they're 17-year-old virgins? And of course they are, because that's the only fucking deodorant you can buy for $1.99.
Apparently I used to fucking reek as a teenager. I don't know this, but every time I would visit the family, my stench used to offend them en masse. I thought I was deodorizing on a regular basis.
Oh, me too, but I knew it. I cultivated it.
I lived in a greenhouse. I was fanning my pits regularly to ventilate.
It was like a life raft. I kept myself nice and wet all the time to really encourage the festering.
My humidifier was my best friend.
My name is George. It means to rat. Oh,
it means wet rat.
Was that his best role, or Doc Brown? Well, never mind. What I wanted to say was yes, I used to stink as well. But I had a friend Steve who said to me that he remembered when he was 15 and his brother was about 17 or 18, and his brother was like really sweaty and horrible. And Steve can remember thinking to himself, it's amazing when you can remember what you thought rather than what you did or said. He remembers thinking to himself, oh God, I'm glad that's not me. And then that's exactly what he turned to. I mean, he was the fucking wettest man I've ever met. You could put him down a dry water slide, he'd be fine. By his own admission, he was a very sweaty person.
Fucking hellfire.
He was very jittery. Yeah, he stopped.
You say jittery.
Yeah, go on.
Jittery. Do you reckon? Was it? Do you reckon it was like down to caffeine, or was it just some kind of like a hormone thing?
He was a bit older than me, and he'd been around kind of during the ecstasy boom of when would that be, the early 2000s, and he'd taken a lot of fucking ecstasy in a short amount of time, and although he didn't do drugs anymore, it had definitely fucked him.
Right. Okay. So it's just his heart is always on fucking overdrive. It's just completely fucked.
His nerves were shredded. Yeah, he was intense without like really being an intense person, if you know what I mean. Okay. He didn't have that sort of personality, but he was very wired, and you see, the thing is he behaved in a quite relaxed way. He'd be very chilled out. He never got mad at people or anything. He wasn't kind of like always needing to work or always needing to do anything. He was pretty normal, but it was normalcy, like with a veneer of kind of like, coffee now, hello, good morning, I'm Steve.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I work with a shitheel like that, and he's like
he's
the
nice.
fattest.
Steve's nice.
Oh, the guy I'm talking about isn't. He's the fattest, laziest fuck, but he just fucked. Speed is like his thing, and he always fucking champions it, right? And it's just like, dude, why on earth are you telling us And there are days where he's like pretty much catatonic. He can't fucking do anything. But the rest of the time, like you can see him just grinding his teeth down to the tiniest little fucking chiclets.
Oh God! Oh, I hate when you use that word, chiclets. It makes me think of Michael Chiklis. If Michael Chiklis was just not a grain, but a single unit of corn, a kernel of corn. I think of Michael Chiklis like that, and I don't want to because I think he's a good actor. But you got me thinking about it now, Damien. You've ruined Michael Chiklis for me again. Next, you're going to fucking ruin Walton Goggins. Stop it.
I'm sure a preliminary Google search will find a nice mock-up of Chiklis for you.
Stop saying Chiklis.
It is a peculiar name. It's fun to say.
So obviously we talked about coffee, which led us naturally to drugs, which leads us back to Bill and Ted, because Bill and Ted has no reference to them smoking pot or anything. I wanted to ask you: is it a given that they are stoners, but they, the studio or whatever, obviously didn't want to show them smoking weed?
I would say pretty much a given because they are just kind of two deadbeat losers with their garage band, just kind of
and they're very stupid.
Yeah, they're very kind of like what would you call it? Not what you call them, airheads.
Most egregious.
Yeah, they're very floaty.
Yeah, they're airheads, but also, I mean, they're almost incapable. I mean, if that was their actual intellect, I mean, they would need assistance.
Yeah,
Rufus. Okay, all right.
A strange old man.
Rufus is just a carer. It's just the way they see
Bill
it.
and Ted 3 is, you see the previous movies were in fact some kind of like fever dream or something like that, and these two have both been like hospitalized many years ago.
Hospitalized.
Fucking hell.
Bill and Ted are the same person. He has split personality, but unfortunately both personalities are very similar, so it's very hard to make a distinction between the two.
Yeah, and for the carers that have to interact with them, they have to nail who they're speaking to and refer to them justly each time.
Yes.
If they don't,
yes, Bill. Yes, Ted. Yes, Bill. Good, got it.
If they get it wrong, they start wailing like they're shithouse nuts, right? They have to like restrain them.
They have to immediately sedate them. Yes, very reasonable until you say the wrong word to them, until you call them Bill when they think they're Ted.
Oh yeah, that is the limit. I mean, you can scream fag at them as per the movie. They've got no problem with that word, but
no, I think they've got no problem with that word if they're calling it to each other. Yeah, I think it's actually only fairly recently that fag has become completely unacceptable. Like you couldn't. What I mean is you could not write that in this sort of film now, and it wouldn't be like the studio told you not to write that. People writing that Bill and Ted sort of stuff now would never think about writing fag into a script.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
you would write it if you were making a point or something. I think now.
It'd be it wouldn't be a comedy, would it? It'd be some kind of like thick drama.
It would be on a sitcom watch. Sort of thing, and it would be a it
part
would be
of some
an
character's
issue.
Arc. Yeah,
it would be an issue. It wouldn't just be a throwaway thing. Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not criticizing it for it.
No. I always find it interesting when you come across certain movies. I would say older movies, and you hear them bandying around the word retarded in quite in a comic way. And it's just kind of like thrown away.
In Friends, the first season they say that. Oh no! Sorry, I'm wrong. Rachel doesn't say that. I think she says spaz.
Right. Okay. That's pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. You definitely don't hear people say that now, do you?
No, not at all.
Don't hear Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory going into a normal shop, speaking to a normal person, irritating them, and the person saying, "Would you get out my fucking shop, you spastic? Remove yourself from my shop, you spastic."
Which is everything that show should have been. It should be Sheldon like trapped in like 1970s England or something like that, and they're just chasing him down the street wherever he goes.
Jesus Christ.
It's only like 12-year-olds that are after him. Like the adults just don't bother. The adults are trying to either get him down the down the coal mines or kind of get him put into asylum or something like that. It's really not fun.
I suppose, if that show was going to be a bit more realistic, it wouldn't be that. It would just be Sheldon living a very lonely life because no one can fucking stand to be around him.
10-season run. Probably no, they're up to like 11 or 12 now, aren't they?
The one where Sheldon sadly waters his plants on his windowsill.
So each season is like a day in the life. It's just one
That's all he does all
banal task.
The one where Sheldon dismantles his television and cleans the insides of it.
He collects old cathode rays, and he's changing the cathode ray TVs, and he's changing the valves in it, slowly but surely. It's the James May show that we watched.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Let's not. Oh, that's taking me into a fucking time hole right there.
Oh, Oh, should we just? No, it's not worth mentioning that, is it?
Have you ever seen Michael Portillo riding trains? There's like 300 episodes of that.
Is that a TV show, or is that just like a thing to see?
Have you ever seen him? Once I was on the tube with someone, you know who, and Alan Johnson walked on. If you don't know who Alan Johnson is, tell everyone who Alan Johnson is, Damien.
Me?
Yeah, you. Yeah.
I don't know who Alan Johnson is.
He's the ex-Home Secretary. So if you're an American, that's basically the Secretary of Defense, right?
Yes, yeah.
Is that right? That's fucking unbelievable. You would never get the American Secretary of Defense walking around in London, would you?
No, I don't suppose you would, let alone on something like the tube.
On the tube. So yeah, he's the ex Home Secretary, and he's an important part in the Labour political sphere. And he got on the tube, and my friend said to me, "Oh, it's Alan Johnson. I like him. Shame about what his wife did."
And he's sat right next to him now.
Yeah, he fucking heard it. He heard it as he walked in. He looked really embarrassed. His wife had just had an affair.
Oh, what a tool. Alan Johnson came and sat in the chairs directly opposite and stared the fucker down.
Started stropping a flick knife in front of us.
He had this lovely gilded butterfly knife, and he's just playing with it back and forth. Not performing any tricks, just slowly opening it and turning it around.
Oh, dear.
We had to leave very quickly.
But that's as close to fame as I've ever gotten. I don't think I've ever met a famous person. Have you? I met the Pope. Well, apart from him,
I believe I've shaken the Archbishop of London's hand when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How is Terry? Why did you do that? Did you save his skateboard from something? He left his skateboard outside of the cafe he was going in, and you were like, "Don't forget your skateboard, Archbishop."
I don't know what it was. It was some kind of school performance, right?
Oh no!
Like schools in the district. So there was like 5 or 6 schools, and we're at St Paul's Cathedral, and we had to do plays there.
And you were in a play. That makes me cringe.
Oh yeah. I was in loads of plays in school. I used to love that shit.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't get it. That's just incredibly incongruent with who you are now, isn't it?
Oh no, it's nuts. And there was one I used to really go for it. Right, I remember once I was a cow in a nativity play, right, and I would just. I can't remember.
Even though your line was moo, you somehow walked into moo. Help me, Dr. Zayas.
I mean, I think so, because I was told to kind of tone it the fuck down like the next night.
Oh my god. You were a cow and you were told to tone it down.
Oh yeah, I think I was just.
You're being too cowy now.
Yeah, I was. Fuck off. I mean, sorry, I just heard that. Thank you very much.
Is that how you did it?
I think I just belted it out at the top of my voice, like really screamed, "Moo!"
Like it was
like I was
much
kicking
more
this
of an order
ninja
than
down.
a moo.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I was convinced that this thing was revolving around me a little bit.
You were 32.
I should have known better, but I still got my parents to watch. They were very disappointed.
I was never in any school plays or anything. I always thought, even as a kid, I always thought like shit, derivative, bullshit. I can run better than this. The director don't know shit.
Oh dear.
It's like my gong. Do you like that? Bong.
I did. I like that very much. I like
Chinatown. What's that called? That scale.
I think what you took. The actual scale itself, I think, is pentatonic, but I think that thing is called chopsticks. Maybe that's not chopsticks.
Yeah.
No, chopsticks is something else. I think I'm. If anyone, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
if anyone wants to get in touch with Damien, then why not find him on Twitter? Because he goes there all the time.
Yeah, here is his personal email address, and for one lucky listener, we'll give his personal phone number.
Kevin Spacey at kevinspacey.com. Or would it be Kevin at spacey.com? Or would it be administrator at kevinspacey.com?
I'd definitely say administrator. He'd have to be, he'd have to have a kind of dominant role.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't speak. Well, Kevin Spacey without speaking like, ugh. Yes.
We're gonna have to talk about Bill and Ted at some point. Where did we get to? Where did we get to? I'll try that again.
All right. Okay. We were talking about the drugs of the many drugs of Bill and Ted, the many assumed drugs of Bill and Ted. I was just asking about 15 minutes ago or something if you think that a remake, or not a remake, if you think a sequel. I was just asking about 15 minutes ago if you think that a sequel is a good idea.
Oh, I don't think so. No.
Okay. That's the end of that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, you should know by now. You can ask me many questions, but I will never expand on them. Well, I think.
Well, okay.
A lot of like franchises are kind of a lot of franchises are trying to undergo like resurgences and stuff like that, and so far I don't think there have been many successful ones really.
Yeah, they've not been good.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but I think it's not going to be something that's particularly beloved by the original fans, and I think any new fans, I think modern audiences will kind of be a little bit kind of baffled by it, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. What you're saying about modern audiences makes me think about the fact that Bill and Ted were written to be kind of geeky originally. They were written to be kids that the cool kids don't like. But then when they cast Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, they rewrote them so they were a bit cooler. And I think that there's no way that a 40 or 50-year-old Bill and Ted are going to be cool.
Oh, absolutely not. I have this horrible kind of inkling that it will be their kids, right? It'll be.
Oh God, I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah, I that's kind of like the first place my mind went. It was going to be.
And Bill's kid is called Ted Jr. And Ted's kid is called Bill Jr.
Yeah, I'm sure that without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, that's how they'll call it, Bill and Ted, right? And that'll be at least 20 minutes of fucking material throughout the movie. And really cringy.
Bill and Ted's babies. Oh.
Yes, Bill and Ted babies. That's what it's going to be.
Oh no! Is it worse with the possessive or not? Bill and Ted's babies or Bill and Ted babies?
Bill and Ted babies, I think.
I can't. Now I'm thinking of George. Oh no!
And we got George Carlin babies.
Oh no! It's just a baby's body with George Carlin's head. And again, we're going back to Adam Sandler.
Did we talk about that on the show, or was that just?
We did talk about that. We did talk about
okay.
that off the show. Yeah. Yes. It was it off mic. I know because all the podcast is just a 90-minute recording of a normal conversation now.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful for these people sticking with it for as long as they have.
Oh, it's just bots. I'm just doing this for my 4,000 hours. So I was kind of thinking of yes, Bill and Ted as middle-aged men. Wouldn't that be fun? I think before I want to get into the ideas, I came up with some names for the next Bill and Ted film because I quite like the names. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Mm-hmm. So I guess the titles have to continue in that sort of vein. So the first word is either good or unreal, because I think they mean bogus as in like, whoa, bogus, like it's cool.
Yes, yeah.
and the second word is journey. So I was thinking Bill and Ted Righteous Marathon. Bill and Ted's pseudo tomfoolery. That's in case we want to go with bogus, kind of meaning like not real.
All right, okay.
That's in case we want to go with bogus being not real. And then
could I suggest maybe nebulous if you're kind of going that route as well? Nebulous expedition.
Nebulous expedition. Or how about Bill and Ted's proper exodus?
But look, we're still trying to connect to a youth audience, so we spell it with an A on the end, right? So it's proper, but not proper.
Proper. And the O has an umlaut above it.
Proper. Or was that Prowper?
Proper. And my own favourite at the end is Bill and Ted Bodacious Larks. All right, so do you want me to go through my ideas? I know you don't have any, so...
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Bill, Ted, and Death are sent to the end of time to make sure all the orders are right at the restaurant at the end of the universe. I thought it would be funny if they're working in a kitchen and there's all like weird aliens and stuff. For some reason, I imagine that a lot of the new one would end up in the future.
Yeah.
I think so. I think that they've got the not only got the budget to do that. I don't think they'd be able to fucking resist any excuse to put lasers in there.
Oh yeah, I think
Theater lasers. Oh yeah.
The first movie was set predominantly in the past now as they're travelling through, and then the second movie...
a lot of the second one is in the present. But a lot of the second one is also in a future where everyone wears weird polystyrene shoulder guards.
I thought that was only kind of some of the setup at the beginning. They go back and forth.
It is some of the setup at the beginning, but it's kind of more than I think there should be. It's bizarre. Right. It's got twice as much budget, but it looks much cheaper in those places.
Right, okay. Well, I think anything that's trying to do a mock-up of the future is always in danger of looking really naff and cheap no matter how much money they pump into it.
Well, I don't know. Well, I agree, but I think there are some things that still work. Alphaville is still very good. That's a lot of a contemporary city that's just filmed differently. I don't know. I think Blade Runner, the first one, holds up, even though some of the effects you can kind of see. Oh, that's not a modern effect, but I don't know. I don't think necessarily.
That's a fair point. I'll
But I know what you mean. I think if you're going to do something, sci-fi, it's very easy to make it look cheap. It's the same as when you use CGI, isn't it? Some CGI does hold up, but a lot of it ages very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think I'm kind of looking a little bit too much into Bill and Ted. I think that was definitely part of the appeal, the fucking stupid shoulder pads and sunglasses and stuff.
I just think that they look too cheap. It's not a question of kind of, they don't look like they're actually made of metal or something like that. It's just they look like they'd run out of money.
Right, okay. Fair enough. And they needed to look like it was armor plating.
I don't mean that it had to look like that, but it had to look like it wasn't some sort of pool toy.
They travel to the future, and as soon as they get there, everyone is geared for war, and Bill and Ted have no fucking clue what's going on.
It just looks like someone might have said, "Oh, okay, we're going to scrap the leggings for George Carlin because all we had to make them out of was fucking pool noodles." Yeah, that's where they should have done the crossover. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey with Christopher Lloyd as Fester from the Addams Family.
But he's traveling through when they're in their time stream. They see the DeLorean there, right? Is that correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, Damien. That'd be so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's that fucking Mini Cooper. Of course, it's their DeLorean.
A nice Lambo.
Yeah, it's an Audi A4, and they keep on going on about how safe it is. Oh wow, it's got side airbags. Okay, so I have another idea. Bill and Ted interfere with Anschluss or some other historically important event because they're buffoons and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. I mean, I often kind of thought, obviously not really, but did none of these historical figures that they kidnapped from the first one, did none of them go back and say, I saw things you wouldn't believe?
Oh, no, they were never returned. Is it? Surely.
It's Lincoln's famous address, the famous attack ships on fire address.
So Bill and Ted 3 is Bill and Ted 3 time jail, right?
Wouldn't it be great if...
So right, Bill and Ted
and
got
that's the
their shit
crossover with
together.
Ghostbusters, because the time jail is also the ghost jail.
I think so. So like I reckon Bill and Ted 3, right? We've got a middle-aged Bill and Ted, right? Their dreams of being rock stars didn't pan out, right? And turns out all that shit with Rufus is just fever dreams, but never.
Nevertheless, they do have access to a time machine.
No, yeah. They're not fever dreams. It's just him blowing smoke up their asses. But they nevertheless have this time machine, and what they've resolved to do is as a sort of power play is to simply abduct these powerful figures in history. And what we find them in their middle age, and they're essentially wardens of this jail, right? And it's a prison drama in and amongst the inmates, I think.
And basically, Bill and Ted Are Hardly Seen. It's all about the factions the prisoners have divided themselves into, and how these factions are going to control the drug supply.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you don't actually see Bill and Ted in the movie almost at all, except for maybe towards the end. All you see, there's loads of hearsay and like some crude drawings on some of the cell walls and stuff like that. But that's it. Very enigmatic.
Okay, well, this kind of leads me on to this idea, which is Bill and Ted are middle-aged prophets who rule the world through a music-based cult. Everyone has agreed that their philosophy is the best, and the film is them just stamping out the last pockets of resistance around the Gulf of Aden with love mortars and party squads. Because it kind of is a bit. It is a bit like that, isn't it? At the end,
I would suppose. Yeah, it is a little bit.
It's a bit. It's you. And everyone's together, and you kind of think, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, any kind of future where everyone's united under one kind of ideal is always...
It's always under a fucking iron fist, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually that comes at the beginning of the story, and that's what they've got to overcome.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so we're saying Bill and Ted 3, Logan's Run.
Or you have this bit where Rufus says, and everyone decided that it was better to live together. I mean... once we convinced the Middle East. And that's when it comes up on this sweeping shot of a broken landscape to... And it was the wrong Bill and Ted, the Joss Auckland Bill and Teds.
So we got, Joss Ackland to kind of double as both those roles. Is that right? Or Joss Ackland is the guy in the hospital with the split personality who thinks he's Bill and Ted.
Well, they never explain what Joss Auckland's, ideology is, right? In the second one.
Yes, yeah.
Right. Right, and it's kind of made out that he's a totalitarian or something, but I don't understand how 600 years into the future or however long it is, how Joss Auckland could have been born without just feeling the love of Bill and Ted, and maybe their philosophy isn't perfect if they're heretics.
So when they travel to the future, they're exposed as false prophets, and it's them essentially trying to escape execution.
Again, with the Logan's Run thing, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a Jenny Agutter of every era. Young Jenny Agutter, middle-aged Jenny Agutter, old Jenny Agutter. It's a time thing. We can do that. Any excuse to CGI in a young Jenny Agutter.
I would agree, yes. Yeah. Okay. What other kind of obscure English actors can we throw in there?
Simon Jones.
Simon Jones?
Yeah, you don't even know who that is, do you?
I do. He's the guy from Hitchhikers, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Fucking amazing.
That's amazing that you remember that.
Oh, dear.
And who have you got?
I've got Nigel Green.
That's Hercules.
Fat Hercules, okay.
He wasn't fat. No, don't say that. Body shaming.
Can we not write it in that he's fat then this time round? So Bill and Ted go through time dispelling a lot of myths and legends and stuff like that. And one of the first and most notable
Napoleon
is Hercules.
wasn't that short.
He's like 7 foot. Like Napoleon suffered from gigantism. He barely lived till 20 to 25. He achieved so much in that time.
It was just propaganda. The victors write history, don't you know?
Chastised and ostracized his whole life for his condition. He always dreamed of being short.
Yeah, and you know who I'm thinking of could also be in it as well? Jack Davenport. He could play Simon Jones's son.
Okay.
Couldn't he? Don't they look the same?
I'm going to say yes while I type in.
Yes, they fucking do.
Yes, of course they fucking do.
Yes, they fucking do. Rah! It should be Bill and Ted 3, and you think it's going to be just a continuation, but it's about the actors. It's about Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves. And Keanu Reeves obviously has this very successful career. He's very famous. You know, he's been in the Matrix movies. He's John Wicklow and everything. Everything's rocking and rolling for him. He's getting married to a young lovely or whatever, and he's out in the Med. And he's on holiday, one of his famous fun holidays. Everyone wants to go on holiday with Keanu. He hasn't seen his old buddy Alex for a long time. And Alex Winter is all like, oh, I hate him, but I love him, and I want to be him. It's all very confusing for Alex Winter. And then they go on a rowboat together. They get into a massive fight. Alex Winter slaps him round the face with an oar, and then he has to pretend to be Keanu Reeves for the rest of his life.
At this point, he's already he's happy with his. He's made peace with his obscurity. He knows that he can simply vanish and no one will question it. But
no one will question it.
But anyone misses Keanu, that's it. He's fucking done.
That's right. He looks in the mirror, and he thinks, actually, I do quite look like Keanu. I've just got to dye my hair, and he does that, and he gets away with it. It's fine as long as he doesn't have to go home to meet Keanu's parents or whatever. I think Keanu's an orphan, so that's fine. That's lucky for us. Philip Seymour Hoffman's dead, so he doesn't have to kill him.
Because it was a prerequisite to get to Keanu.
We could call it The Talented Bill and Ted.
Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, I think we're good to abstain from that. But I think that's what we're going to do for the next 20 minutes.
Me and Damien were going to do a riff track of John Wick, of anything Keanu Reeves has been in, and really dedicate ourselves to making a high quality audio of just us going, whoa, at the right time.
It will be unbearable.
But then
we can assure you the production value will be.
Every time we think about this, it always ends up with us going, Jinx. Where did that come from?
I believe that was Pokemon, no?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Pokemon didn't go into a microphone.
No, I was about to ask how long have we been doing that, but who knows at this point? Probably the better part of a decade. I was going to say the better part of a decade.
No, I think it started with the Boisterous Brothers.
Okay. I think you'll find.
I think it started with, what was that podcast we did called? The Boundary Lads.
The Boundary Lads in Bodacious Locks.
Yeah, I was going to go back to the Bodacious Locks.
See, George and David solve crimes.
I think the first one missed a fucking trick when it got Joan of Arc. It shouldn't have got Joan of Arc. It should have got Boudica or Boudicca. So they could have been like, Boudicca, Bodacious. It's so obvious.
Something that they can't overcome though in the script. They just
what about if they got to the I don't know, this isn't Bill and Ted 3, this is just what about if they got to their history report and they realised, yeah, they've got Socrates, yeah, they've got him, they've got Billy the Kid, cringe, yeah, they've got Napoleon, but they've also got like 5 or 6 Nazis.
Not like major players, but they were.
No, they're not major players, but they're significant enough to like. Yeah, they're senior officers. They're not up there. They're not part of like high command or anything. But yeah.
Officer class,
Oh yeah, no, definitely, yeah. Oberstdtland sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, they sort of people who would have a good chance to get a bullet from the Russians, but if they got caught.
And they don't kind of advocate it by any stretch, but they're just saying, here are some Nazis.
Here are some Nazis. What do you think about San Dimas? And the Nazis are like, yeah, it's pretty good.
As they just kind of slowly kind of do a recce inside their head, looking around.
Well, I did often think that it would have been. It would have. I genuinely don't think it would have been out of place. I think in many ways it would have given the film just a little fucking edge if you'd have just had like 10 seconds of, not in an exaggerated way, but if you kind of hint that, all these historical figures are looking around San Dimas and Abraham Lincoln is fucking appalled.
Holy shit. This is very tender, very slight tender moment towards the end of the movie where he just kind of doffs his hat. And it's not a look of complete revulsion or anything like that. Nothing so on the nose. It's just, you can just see the slightest twinge of disappointment.
Yeah, he realizes that, oh, fuck.
Everything he sought to attain.
It's not quite what he thought it would be.
I like that a lot.
I heard that they do want death involved again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing I really like about Bill and Ted, it is a series I do like, but the one thing I really like about it is its sets. The first one they used that castle when they go back to the medieval times. That castle's a castle in Italy. They used all these great locations, and I thought in the second one, where they go to hell and they go and see death, I thought those locations or that those sets were really well done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
The whole thing about the Energizer Bunny, I thought was really funny and genuinely creepy. I really like the set when Bill imagines what it would be like to be at military school, and it's just these endless rows of bunk beds.
Yeah. I kind of thought that
what I'm saying, Damien, is we need a lot of sets. Come up with something with a lot of sets. Go. 2 seconds. Submarine. No.
Nuclear bunker.
Nuclear bunker. Bill and Ted trapped in the walls. It's like buried, but there's no threat. They've just got to get out.
Yeah. Like
they just get really stoned and end up trapped in some wall somehow.
Yeah. They're having work. They live together because they have to support each other.
They live together like Eric and Ernie. Like they go to bed together in pajamas.
Well, they have to support each other. They could never carve out a proper living for themselves to live independently. So they've been living kind of codependent of each other. But they're having work done on their house, remarkably. And
right.
They get their cat
like
lost.
Bill really wanted a new kitchen.
Yeah. No. It's got to be some kind of like damages. We'll say, just for argument's sake, there was some kind of a small fire, right? It's destroyed like they had some like cheap kind of drywall in a lot of it, so they have to get all that replaced. They lose their cat, right?
What? Could you come up with anything more interesting than they had some sort of fire? It can't just be a fire. That is too boring. It has to be like they were trying to invent a rocket to beat the Pink Floyd finale at some festival they think they're going to, but they're really playing like stage L. They're trying to make a rocket and they blow up their garage or something.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So something really, really, really elaborate that takes us all out, right? But nevertheless,
I think it is just like they basically destroy their entire house because they inflate an enormous blow-up pig inside. But they haven't come up with anything original. They're just like, oh, Pink Floyd did it. We'll just do one, but make like an inflatable pig that's 4 times as big.
Yeah, but they're just in the living room. The movie opens with Alex Winter in a wheelchair because all of his ribs were crushed.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was like the fucking Hindenburg. They had to get the fucking Air Force in to shoot it down. It's just like full of helium.
Oh, fuck yes. I love that.
Alex Winter's there, and he's got his ribs broken, but like Ted's still on the top of it. Ted's riding it like it's a bomb.
No,
it's
trapped.
Just going up. Yeah. That's the movie. The movie is how does Bill get Ted off this enormous inflatable pig that's like just climbing higher and higher. It's like 8 miles high now.
Oh no, I think it's just the character piece. It's just Keanu Reeves on a balloon, just acclimating himself to the notion of his impending death. I mean, eventually it's going to reach the
Feasting on
stratosphere.
seagulls.
Yeah, he's found sustenance, right? He's drawing it out, but eventually this balloon is going to reach like the outer atmosphere and will burst. And he will promptly plummet to Earth. There is no way out.
No, because the telephone box is a teleporter as well. Just teleport beside him, or teleport on the pig, and get him on board. Isn't it? That could be Bill and Ted 3.
It's a pig for a second.
Bill and Ted 3 is about how they become millionaires by like being elite couriers, and all they do is like get $15,000 from people who've left their passport in a different country, and they go and teleport to their house, get their passport, and bring it back. And like no one knows how they do it, but it's just like if you've left something somewhere, you need it brought. They can do it in about 2 minutes.
Oh yeah. But that's the initial setup. But we find out as the story progresses that people are in fact leaving their passports behind. It's that these two.
That's right. They're just teleporting from like somewhere in North America to like some resistance cell in Syria, and they're bringing like 15 to 1,700 telephone boxes worth of small arms every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're just feeding the front line with guns and ammo.
Okay, so they're slowly kind of trying to install themselves as the men behind the warlords, as it were. So this is like the first step in that.
They've basically just
kind of
white man
unification.
Van, but their van can teleport.
Okay, I like that. I quite like the idea of their racket with the passports. But it's an inexact science, right? So they just beam in and out of places looking for valuable items that they could use to kind of extort people with. But they don't know where they're going. They just kind of punch it in, and I think that could be like that can be how they get into lots of kind of comical hijinks, beaming into places they didn't really want to go.
If you had a teleporter, where would you go?
I mean, what?
Okay, if you had a time machine, where would you go? Oh, just pick a time.
Fucking 50 years.
Yesterday. Why?
Oh, fuck.
You could at least win the lottery, couldn't you?
I suppose so.
A few dozen times, maybe. I don't know. I can't see how you would not use it for profit.
Okay,
I'd be too scared to go back to any significant time because I'd be scared of like fucking things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if I went to last week and won the lottery, I'm only fucking up the future, not my future. I mean, not the present. I mean, you know what I mean.
But you do it, habitually.
Oh yeah, no, I become the world's richest man.
Yeah, and really decimate the British economy first.
I start to buy all the fucking corned beef, and then people don't know what to eat at dinner, and then they don't have enough energy to work the next day. That's how you do it, lads. No. The way to decimate the British economy is to cut that internet pipe that is apparently in the sea that Russia might cut with a submarine that's got a circular saw attached to it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Right, and then everyone in Britain will be like, "Oh, fucking boring. No internet, boring. Ah, bored. Ah, death. Yes."
Guess that's naturally the only recourse in such a situation.
I don't know. Can you imagine if you did turn the internet off? I think people would be like zombies. You'd be holed up in supermarkets fighting off hordes of people who think that there's internet inside.
I reckon people would think it would be some kind of Armageddon type situation. I mean, if the internet kind of collapsed, they would think that. I think people would probably think that government was collapsing.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that as well. I think if the internet suddenly stopped and the only thing you could do was listen to your wireless or, God forbid, watch TV, you'd think there'd been a fucking coup. Especially if you had people who came out of helicopters, walked up to microphones and said things like, "Everything's fine. There's just no internet. Don't worry about it. Continue with your life. There's just no internet. Seriously." Oh, and God.
You promptly dust off the metal baseball that you've got underneath your bed, run to the supermarket, and just start braining people left, right,
just
and
start killing. I don't need anything.
You don't care about the fucking beans or anything like that. I've been waiting for this moment. I've been primed and ready. This is what the training was for.
This is what it is. This is PUBG in action. This is happening. This is it. This is now.
So you would collapse the British economy with a time machine, and then kind of pursue your life as potentially a cannibal. Is that what you're saying?
I think that as soon as anything like that happens, one of the first things I'll do is make sure I eat human meat, because I could die at any time, and I'd be disappointed if I was to be killed having not tried human flesh.
Particularly in that scenario where you could. In
The
that
fucking
scenario,
internet better start eating people.
I think
movie.
yeah. Bill and Ted 3.
Yeah.
George has no internet.
George and Robot decide they will make their own internet out of death or something. I don't know. Can't come up with a dramatic word.
So if you had this idea that Alex Winters will wear Keanu Reeves's flesh in the hopes of.
Oh yeah, okay, that's interesting. I didn't say that, but the reason you're saying that is because you're remembering my idea for when before we started this podcast, I said we could do an episode about Short Circuit, and my idea for an episode, and you said this wouldn't run. You said it would be insane to think that anyone would want to listen to a podcast where I talk about Johnny Five becomes really interested in more input. He really needs more input. Not just interested, he becomes obsessed. And he decides that one of the best ways to get input is to become a phenomenal journalist, world-class journalist. So he wears the skin of George Stephanopoulos. And the film is just about Johnny Five pretending to be George Stephanopoulos. And there's a really dramatic moment where the audience knows that the wife knows that Johnny Five isn't George Stephanopoulos, but you don't know if Johnny Five knows that the wife knows that Johnny Five isn't George Stephanopoulos, and you don't know if Johnny Five has just been creepy or he's going to kill her before she gets to the phone.
Now, is this kind of like first act kind of thing, or is this?
No, I see this as about 45 minute mark.
All right, okay, so right in the thick of it, okay. Yeah, is this going to be his trial from now on, or is this just kind of like some kind of like comic? You said it was dramatic. It's a kind of happenstance of.
What are you asking me? What is the question?
So, is it about the murder of George Stephanopoulos' wife at the hands of Johnny Five?
No.
Or is that just like an occurrence?
It's about Johnny Five murdering George Stephanopoulos and taking over his life. Right. And his wife. Doesn't realise at first that it is Johnny Five in his skin, but then she cottons on eventually, and then you don't know if he's going to kill her or not. But he doesn't kill her. Spoilers. He doesn't kill her. It's a real film. He doesn't kill her. He convinces her that she's crazy, and she ends up taking loads of medication and just being like a kind of wife who's like, yes, dear, and she just follows him about as he becomes more and more successful, and she's just like, well. He's not hurting me. He's not hurting the kids. He's providing for me. I think he's creepy as fuck, but I'm up on drugs all the time, so it's okay. Right, and it ends with like George Stephanopoulos like running for governor of New York or running for the Senate or something like that, and everyone around him is completely fooled, except maybe someone who's like a very minor character, and that'll play a role in the sequel.
Right. Okay.
But it ends with him making like an inaugural address. He's won the governorship, and everyone's applauding him. And it just kind of zooms into his cold-eyed eyes, because obviously we can see it's just Short Circuit. It's just Johnny Five in some.
No, that's what I wanted to ask. Yeah. So I mean, he flays off George Stephanopoulos' skin, right?
This is the beauty of the film. He's wearing his flayed skin. It looks ridiculous. But that's what we as an audience see. The characters in the film act as if it is George Stephanopoulos. It's like Quantum Leap, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We see what's his name?
Scott Bakula, I think it is.
We see Scott Bakula, but everyone else sees the person that Scott Bakula's leaped into.
Yeah.
Has become.
Sorry, that kind of. I mean, like, I'll say it later. But so anyway, so he's got George Stephanopoulos' skin. So is it really just crudely kind of draped over him, or has he actually tried to climb inside?
I think it's really crudely draped over him. I don't think that the tracks have any sort of George Stephanopoulos camouflage on there.
Right, because okay, fine. So I thought maybe it's not so much he gets it kind of in his skin, but they kidnap George Stephanopoulos, and there's this kind of surgery, and we've got what was his name? Something Fisher. He was the engineer who made Johnny Five. He's got this kind of wild idea of this operation where he's going to take all of Johnny Five's main CPUs in his head and stuff. He's just going to kind of
ram them into George Stephanopoulos'
yeah,
brain.
if you just jam it into no, they can remove the head completely, right? But they just kind of jam it into the spine, right? So therefore he can control the body of George Stephanopoulos, right?
Okay, all right. No,
So-
I prefer mine, but I like yours.
So it's kind of it's not done well. It's just kind of the head's jammed in, so it's always at an angle.
Like it's obvious.
Yeah. I mean, they never changed the suit or anything like that, so it's always really bloody around the collar, and there's
And
occasional.
increasingly manky.
Oh yeah. Because there's no change. You just kind of see it kind of calcify and crust up through the course of the movie. But yeah, it remains the same. But like all motor control, right, of the body is impeccable, right? It works perfectly, and that's how Johnny Five has been
It
able
doesn't
to
move
kind of-
anywhere without going. Right. He's got to constantly put WD-40 around his elbows.
No. I mean, they haven't like replaced all of his
No,
stuff.
I know, but I don't know. I just think Johnny Five starts to. I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny. God, such a
Fucking hell.
it was such a fucking Derek Downer.
Okay, so we're talking about the full size Johnny Five. It's not one of those little ones that's just kind of rammed in the back of George Stephanopoulos' head. I'm just kind of going through the options.
Well,
here.
like a whole Johnny Five, Johnny Five rammed into the back of his head, like a tiny one.
No, there's like one tiny one at the beginning of, I think at the beginning of the second movie. I thought maybe.
Like a Happy Meals one.
Yeah. But like what we don't know about Johnny Five and all the little Johnny Fives is it's all one consciousness.
Johnny Five babies. It's all one consciousness. Okay, so Johnny Five can see everything.
Yeah. Like the original Johnny Five just essentially just builds like a manufacturing line and just builds more of himself, replicating himself. Only small. He's going for something that can be used kind of in a stealth capacity.
In 1982, Johnny Five became self-aware. Such a cheap joke, and yet, yeah, it's very much like that. Like, Johnny Five is going to want so much input one day, he's going to have to start crushing people down just to look at their DNA. He's not doing anything with this information, he just likes information.
It's his programming. It's what he's bound to do in the most literal sense.
And that's when Bill and Ted have to bring the might of history's best warriors to fight him. So it's like Johnny Five versus Attila the Hun, fucking Robin Hood, and people like that.
All these great warriors in history, right? For their age, but as soon as they're kind of brought to this age, they're like horrifically outmatched. They are slaughtered almost
Johnny Five has like laser
instantly.
guns and stuff.
But he doesn't kill them immediately. He dissects them first.
It's like the end of Time Bandits, where they bring like different soldiers from different eras, and I always thought, well, why not just go to space and bring like loads of fucking space stuff
and really fuck things up.
And what did you say to those GIs in World War II? You were like, I know you're fighting Hitler, but listen, at the end of time, in Kevin's bedroom, there's a showdown between evil and God, and we need you guys over there. And they were like, okay, we'll follow you into this black hole. What if the next John Wick is about John Wick meeting an old friend, and it's Alex Winter?
Oh no, I was my dick was getting hard thinking of Johnny Five. Sorry, that's the cold open there. I'd like to. I was kind of hoping you were going to say that John Wick does shows down with Johnny Five. We find out that the menace that originally killed his dog was in fact that horrible fucking robot.
He was just looking for input. He was just looking for something to cram inside of him.
Yeah, because what we did was like Johnny Five.
Johnny Five is
25
Wally.
years.
He's just cramming things into cubes.
He's built like this really remedial kind of mouth. right?
Yes,
And this kind of like faux digestion.
It's just a trash
Digestive
compactor.
system. Yeah. So he's not consuming information at all. He's just kind of like
He's just
quasi
crazy.
eating it. He's just crushing things in this bizarre, like really cheap mandible that he's at. And like to kind of create the illusion that he's human, he's got these like kind of really naff kind of rubber lips around the outside as a sort of facade.
He's made out of like a bicycle inner tube. It's just a terrifying ritual of blood, of him crushing things in front of a fire and smearing blood on what would be his cheeks. His
Like every time-
eyebrows flaunting threateningly.
It's the same shot of every time that Johnny Five like catches something and consumes it, really tightly close up of his face. You see this chomping and just blood flying out. It's the same exact shot every time.
Okay, before we go, how do we remember Rufus? Do we have a bust of him? How do we remember George Carlin in Bill and Ted 3? Maybe. How about if Lawrence Fishburne plays Rufus and we never mention George Carlin at all? There's something clearly wrong, and it's only at the end of the film you realise, like, oh, this is like Constantine. Like they live in like some horrible dystopia and they're on drugs and they think this guy is Rufus, but he's not.
Find it some kind of like limbo. What actually happened all along was they got into this telephone box. It wasn't time traveling at all. It was just had this horrible like carbon monoxide leak, and they both suffocated within minutes. This is just like the last synapses firing through their brains, kind of like cobbled together, creating some kind of twisted reality.
Yeah, I think we're back to Bill and Ted, or the same person inside Christopher Lloyd's body.
I thought it was it Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Ernie Hudson's in it too, and he's fucking someone. I don't know.
He's like
deaf.
Nurse Ratchet or something.
He's Nurse Ratchet. He's Nurse. Oh fucking hell! Yeah, he's Nurse Ratchet. Fine. And Shelley Duvall is one of the princesses. Fucking fine. Fucking fine. And it's directed by Altman. And it's set in Malta, in the fucking Popeye village.
Well, there we go. I think that's a fucking wrap.
Well, that's just about it for this episode of the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show. Next week, we're going to be talking about Top Gun 3. So I'm sure we'll be talking about Katie Holmes, Dawson's Creek, which now makes me think of the OC, because someone in the OC said Dawson's Crack. I must have seen one episode of the OC. Next week, we're going to be talking about the OC.
Yes, okay. Teen dramas, I think. Top Gun 3.
Daria. That's how that song goes, isn't it? How does the Cheers song go, Damien?
Cheers.
Everybody knows your name.
Diddle-digga-digga-digga-digga-ding. Exactly like that. I won't listen to anyone that says otherwise.
Because you've been dealt a losing card.
Yes.
Should we do it again? Do you want to just say some more things down the microphone and I'll put them all at the end?
What is a boy to do? Murphy.
Toss that salad, Niles.
Oh, scrambled eggs all over my face.
That dingo killed your babies.
In a misguided attempt to clone his father, Frasier unwittingly creates his new son.
And the film is called My 7-Year-Old Dad. I think we can stop. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thanks very much. Bye.